Good evening, I'm Fana Sheikh and this is AWANI Tonight. Pardons can't be given arbitrarily, says Sultan Selangor. And more focus should be given to migrants, the elderly and women in Budget 2023. More on that coming up. Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob has obtained an interim injunction from the High Court for UMNO Supreme Council member Dato' Lokman Nur Adam to take down all videos on his social media accounts that allegedly defamed the Prime Minister. Judicial Commissioner Rose Mawar Rozain had granted the injunction today.
Ismail Sabri's counsel said Lokman must comply with the order immediately after receiving the court papers. The court has fixed an inter-parties hearing on September 26. Lokman, in a video among others, claimed that Ismail had met former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad and leaders of other political parties opposed to UMNO in order to remain as Prime Minister and sideline the interests of his own party. He also claimed that Ismail had offered to appoint Mukhris Mahathir as Deputy Prime Minister in return for Mahathir's support. Lokman alleged that he had interfered to ensure that former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Razak was convicted and jailed. The Prime Minister, who is also UMNO Vice President, said the allegations in the video lowered his reputation among UMNO members and had caused mental and emotional stress to him. He said a letter of demand was sent to Lokman on August 25th to remove the video, but he refused to do so and also declined to offer an apology.
The High Court today cut short the hearing of Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak's case for misappropriation of 2.3 billion ringgit in 1MDB. Najib is said to be in need of medical attention as the high blood pressure medication he was taking is giving him adverse effect.
Lead prosecutor Datuk Seri Gopal Sri Ram told the High Court that he was informed by prison department officers that Najib's condition was quite bad. As such, he requested for the court to adjourn by 12:30 p.m. today so Najib could be allowed to attend his medical appointment at 2 p.m. Najib began his imprisonment on August 23rd after the federal court upheld the High Court's guilty verdict for all 7 charges in his SRC international corruption case. In the ongoing 1MDB trial, he faces 4 charges of using his position to obtain bribes totaling 2.3 billion ringgit from 1MDB funds and 21 charges of money laundering involving the same amount.
Meanwhile, Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said that Najib was not admitted to the General Hospital last Friday for an emergency treatment. The former Prime Minister was treated for an elective case and was already discharged based on the advice of experts that attended to him. This is following rumours that Najib was seriously ill.
He added that the Hospital Kuala Lumpur management had also held a family conference twice with the former Prime Minister and his family members. The test results were conveyed at the conferences according to professional medical practice, and the experts had unanimously agreed that he could be discharged from HKL. Rumours about Najib's health spread after news emerged that his trial for the misappropriation of 2.28 billion ringgit of 1MDB funds ended earlier today to allow the accused to see a doctor.
Selangor ruler Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah today called for the public to respect the rule of law and independence of Malaysia's judicial system. He also reminded Malaysians that while the king has the discretionary power to pardon those that have been convicted, it must be done according to the law. In a statement, the Selangor monarch expressed his support for the Yang di-Pertuan Agong's assertion made last week that royal pardons cannot be meted out arbitrarily. The monarch added that judges have taken an oath to uphold the law and that all citizens are equal when it comes to the law, regardless of status, race or position. He said independence of the judiciary meant that judges presiding over cases were allowed to make rulings based on the facts of the case without fear, prejudice or any undue influence. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Najib Razak's Datuk Seri title awarded in 2004 and his Datuk title awarded in 1992 have also been revoked by the Selangor Sultan. His wife, Datuk Seri Rosmah Mansur's Datin Paduka Seri title, which she received in 2005, has also been revoked as well. On May 2019, the state awards conferred upon the two were suspended pending the outcome of the criminal cases levelled against them. The revocation of the titles follows the graft, criminal breach of trust and money laundering charges brought against both Najib and Rosmah. According to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, Budget 2023 will focus on post-COVID-19 recovery. With this in mind, Benedict Wirasina from Bait Al-Amanah suggests certain target groups for the government to focus on.
But I want to highlight, first of all, what needs to be done for vulnerable groups, especially the non-citizens. So I'm going to start with that. We cannot just say that this is a hidden population that we are not going to care about. The stateless community, the refugees, the migrants, they will still be present with us. And I think this is something to be considered by policymakers. Are they being left out in terms of assistance? Are they being left out in terms of being a hidden population, especially the stateless community?
Benedict also highlights the need to focus on the aging population and women.
Malaysia reached an aging nation in 2020, and we're going to reach an aged population in 2044, where 14% are older than 65 years and above. And this is the aging rate that we're going at is faster than the global standards. Not only that, recently there was news that 6.62 million members, or 52% of the total EPF members, had savings less than 10,000 ringgit. Now, how are we going to address this? What measures can be done for a dignified retirement? I know that this could be a long-term instead of a budget 2023 single-year focus, but if we're going to delay it, this problem will not go away, definitely. Could there be policies to, for example, delay the retirement age, policies which encourage seniors to continue working, or to promote favorable policies that employers can hire or are willing to hire seniors to work right even after their retirement? Not only that, the pandemic has created a situation where women have left the labour market, to take care of the children during the lockdown with school closures and so on and so forth. In Budget 2023, could there be a policy to increase access to quality and affordable childcare, for example, especially for younger children, so that women can return to work in the labour force, and to promote higher female participation, female labour force participation rates?
Beyond target groups, Benedict says Malaysia must look at promoting economic freedom for the long run. He discusses some economic approaches to be considered for the federal budget.
I think there needs to be a coming back or recovery of economic freedom in the nation. What this means is, previously, during the pandemic, there was a lot of government interference in the market process. We also saw that this year when it comes to food security and rising food prices. There's quite a few measures that the government did to interfere in the market process, such as banning of exports, such as price ceilings, for example, which is definitely detrimental to how the market works. Another example about this is the role of GLCs, government-linked companies. Even in the recent statement on food security, there has been talk of GLCs stepping in to interfere into food production. But if the food production system is already, I would say, not to say saturated, but already functioning as it is, why should GLC step in? I think it's very important to avoid the crowding out of private investments. That is a huge worry in Malaysia, where a lot of private entrepreneurs and foreign investors are concerned about the role of GLCs and how they dominate a few industries in the economy. All in all, I think Malaysia needs to pursue economic openness instead of economic protectionism. We need to promote a business-friendly attitude instead of trying to interfere into every situation or every problem that arises.
We will go for a quick break. Stay with us.
Sehat ialah satu cara hidup. Cara untuk minum dengan baik. Makan dengan baik. Dengan bahan-bahan segar dan pelbagai cara yang sihat untuk memasaknya. Bakar, kukus, masak, campur, jus. Khas untuk semua amatur dan pakar. Gaya hidup sihat yang memasak di hujung minggu. Menyihatkan badan dan jiwa. Hidup sihat setiap hari bersama Panasonic.
Panasonic.
Welcome back. Sweden's elections is shaping up to be the tightest race for power in the country. Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson said the election was still too close to call, but the opposition right-wing bloc may take a slim lead and out her party. Exit polls at first predicted victory for Magdalena's ruling left-wing coalition, but results later suggest the far-right Sweden Democrats could narrowly win. The final result may have to wait until all votes, including postal and advance votes, are counted over the next few days. Whatever the results, the anti-immigration Sweden Democrats have made significant gains, which had a strong showing of nearly 21%, its best result ever. The party gained on promises to make Sweden safe again by cracking down on shootings and other gang violence that have shaken a sense of security for many in Sweden. It also wants to introduce longer prison sentences and reducing immigration to a minimum. Sweden's last elections in 2018 led to a stalemate that lasted 4 months until the Social Democrats managed to form a minority government. Meanwhile, some of the largest cities in Ukraine were left without power following Russia's bombardment. Blackouts have reportedly affected around 9 million people in eastern regions, including Kharkiv and Donetsk. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of attacking civilian infrastructure in an attempt to deprive people of light and heat. This, he said, is in revenge for Ukrainian counter-offensive. The blackout, said Zelensky, comes after Ukraine had retaken over 3,000 square kilometers during a rapid counter-offensive in the east. If true, it will mean Ukrainian forces have tripled their territorial gains in little over 48 hours. Separately, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in the Russia-occupied south completely shut down in a bid to prevent a radiation disaster as fighting raged nearby. Kiev's action in recent days to reclaim Russia-occupied areas in the Kharkiv region forced Moscow to withdraw its troops to prevent them from being surrounded, leaving behind significant numbers of weapons and munitions. New Zealand has removed most of its remaining COVID-19 restrictions, including its mask and vaccine mandates. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern signalled a return to normalcy for the first time since the pandemic began.
This is a time when finally, rather than feeling that COVID dictates what happens to us, our lives and our future, we take control back as we continue to drive economic activity and our recovery. This will be the first summer in 3 years where there won't be the question of what if.
People will no longer be required to wear masks except in healthcare and aged care facilities. Meanwhile, the last remaining vaccine mandates on healthcare workers will be scrapped on September 26. Tourists will also no longer need to be vaccinated in order to visit the country. However, those who test positive for the virus will still be required to isolate for 7 days.
Over in Pakistan, authorities are scrambling to protect a vital power station against a growing threat of flooding. Soldiers have built a dike in front of the station that supplies electricity to millions of people in 6 districts.
The electricity station in Dadu, located in the southern province of Sindh, is one of the country's worst affected areas. Nearly a third of the nation of 220 million was submerged in waters from record rains since last week. The country received nearly 190% more rain than the 30-year average in July and August. The floodings killed almost 1,400 people and washed away homes, roads, railways, livestock and crops. Damages are estimated at $30 billion. The government and the UN blame climate change for extreme weather that led to the flooding.
PTPTN loans have now become the primary way to finance higher education, which means many young Malaysians carry a 5-figure debt burden even before entering the workforce. On Consider This, we ask our guests what happens to the young, indebted and unemployed or underemployed. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. I'm Fanashe. Thank you for watching.